Tonight, on First at 9 this Wednesday the 9th of July 2025. Fresh probes. Government claims Pillan had prior knowledge of the Easter Sunday attacks. MP Shanak and Rasamanikam calls for an international investigation into the Easter attacks. On track, Sri Lanka is on the correct path to achieving the 5% inflation target in the next 4 to 6 quarters, affirms the central bank governor. Off limits. Suspended Prisons Commissioner General granted bail in controversial presidential pardon case, barred from entering prison facilities as a part of bail conditions. No leeway. Supreme Court orders the University Grants Commission to strictly implement established anti-ragging guidelines.
Enrolling now for the June 2025 intake and complete your degree in 2 years.
Men are the tools. Javalita, This is Derana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening, you're joining First at 9, brought to you by Sri Lanka's most trusted news source, Derana. I'm Tharindu Mahendra, joining you live with the latest in Sri Lanka and around the world. We begin with your top story this evening. Minister of Public Security and Parliamentary Affairs Ananda Vijaypala claimed in Parliament today that ongoing investigations have revealed that former State Minister Sivanesathurai Chandrakanthan alias Pillan had prior knowledge of the 2019 Easter Sunday attacks. Meanwhile, Lanka Tamil Arasu Katchi MP Shanakin Rasamanikam called on government to call for international support to investigate the Easter bombings to ensure the credibility and independence of the inquiries. 2 days ago, the President made a significant statement regarding the Easter Sunday attack. He acknowledged the difficulty a government faces when it is expected to investigate itself. This implies that there may have been involvement or negligence at the governmental level, and we believe this warrants a thorough and independent investigation. We welcome the arrest of Pillan, India Bharati and their associates. This is a step in the right direction, especially considering that the previous government failed to take any action against them. However, we have also learned that the Attorney General's department has recommended granting bail to Pillan. The CID has reportedly objected to this recommendation. It is important to take note that a member of the NPP had visited Vakare and requested that an associate of Pillan be appointed the chairman of the Vakare Pradesh Sabha. We have serious concerns regarding these developments. During the 2024 presidential election campaign, Pillan claimed that the JVP requested weapons from him, something he says he refused. These allegations must be investigated impartially and thoroughly.
Government must immediately take action to start an international investigation, not only on the Easter Sunday attack, but on all atrocities committed against the people of Sri Lanka in this country.
We have also discussed the individual known as Abu Hind. Ravi Seneviratne, during his testimony to the Presidential Commission of Inquiry into the Easter Sunday attacks, stated that Abu Hind held a higher position than Zaharan Hashim. Today, Seneviratne is the Secretary to the Minister of Public Security. Given his knowledge, why is there no investigation or arrest of Abu Hind? It has been falsely claimed that the Attorney General recommended bail for Pillan. We categorically reject that claim. The report from the Presidential Commission of Inquiry into the Easter Sunday attacks was handed over to the CID only on April 20th, 2025, 3 years after its release. The President has since instructed authorities to implement the recommendations. It is also important to take note that the previous administration under Gotabaya Rajapaksa withheld this report. We are currently investigating the sensitive elements within the report before it is tabled in Parliament. Contrary to claims that the government has done nothing, investigations have indeed commenced. Pillan was arrested and detained at Batticaloa prison on April 21st, 2019 in connection with the assassination of Joseph Pararajasingham. During this time, reports indicate that Pillan was aware of the Easter Sunday plot. Military intelligence officers held in custody with him were found to have close connections with him. Based on the information received, there is now reasonable suspicion that Pillan had prior knowledge of the Easter Sunday attack. Investigations are ongoing. I propose that the public must have confidence in this process. His Eminence Malcolm Cardinal Ranjit has reminded us that this government was appointed with the mandate to change the system. If that promise is not fulfilled, he warns that the people will reconsider their support. The Cardinal has also urged the President to fulfill the promise made at Katuwapitiya Church. We must ensure that all those responsible are brought before justice, regardless regardless of rank or position. The claim that the Attorney General recommended bail for Pilyan is also mentioned in the parliamentary motion. I reiterate that no such recommendation was made. If necessary, we can seek foreign support. However, our own CID is fully capable of conducting these investigations. We do not need foreign judges. Our judiciary is competent and independent. We will no longer allow the Easter Sunday attack to be used as a political tool. You continuously talk about dereliction of duty. But let me ask, who was the director of the CID at the time? Who was the DIG of the CID? It was them, and they still hold those positions today. It was the two sons of the NPP candidate who funded this attack and were even involved in the bombings. The Presidential Commission reports clearly state that criminal charges should be filed against those who failed in their duty. When such recommendations exist, how can we expect justice when the very individuals responsible are the ones handling the investigations now? Will they charge themselves? The two names you mentioned are not found in either of the two Presidential Commission reports. They appear only in the Imam Committee report, which is not a Presidential Commission. I urge everyone to read pages 117, 118, 119, 120 and 145 of the report. They clearly reveal how this attack occurred due to the gross negligence by the directors and DIGs of the CID despite receiving intelligence a full year before the attack. Shania Besekar is a victim, both in the context of the Easter Sunday attack and in the murder investigation of Wasim Tajuddin. Ravi Seneviratne too became a target simply because he attempted to investigate these cases. Shania Besekar did not arrive empty-handed. He brought crucial findings. Yet he was removed from the investigations under the claim that his involvement was no longer needed. Now, ironically, these same people, especially leaders from the Catholic community, including His Eminence Malcolm Cardinal Ranjit, are calling for his reinstatement. All these reports being celebrated are in reality being manipulated or fabricated by elements linked with Madamulana. The President cannot now claim that the state itself was involved in the Easter Sunday attack. He knew this context when he decided to run for office, and he was elected knowing this full well. Now he must act on the responsibilities he accepted instead of constantly deflecting or complaining. In the past, he directly accused Gotabaya Rajapaksa, the Rajapaksa family and Suresh Saleh of being involved in the attack. If he no longer believes that they are behind it, then he should clearly state that. Why is he now silent? Why is he hiding the truth?
Crunchy goodness for hunger on the go.
Yadia, ලොව වැඩියෙන්ම අලෙවි වන ඉලෙක්ට්‍රික් ස්කූටරය Avance Auto වෙතින්.
The Colombo Magistrates Court granted bail to suspended Commissioner General of Prisons Tushar Upul-Denia in relation to charges of facilitating the release of an inmate from Anuradhapura prison under the guise of a presidential pardon. As part of the bail conditions, the magistrate imposed a travel ban on the suspect and prohibited him from accessing any prison facility across the country. The case concerning the controversial release of an inmate under the guise of a presidential pardon was taken up for hearing today before the Colombo Chief Magistrates Court. Suspended Prisons Commissioner General Tushar Upul-Denia, who was being held in remand custody, was produced before the court. Officials of the Criminal Investigation Department informed the court that the suspect is under investigation for allegedly submitting false documentation to the Anuradhapura High Court and the Ministry of Justice, suggesting that the prison inmate unlawfully released on Vesak Poya Day had been officially pardoned by the President. The CID further revealed that the suspect on multiple occasions had met with the Anuradhapura prison superintendent to hold discussions regarding the release of the prisoner in question. The CID emphasized the necessity of acquiring relevant close-range surveillance footage and conducting further inquiries. It was also disclosed that several prison officials appeared reluctant to cooperate with the investigation. Citing the potential for interference with ongoing investigations, the CID requested the court to deny the suspect's bail applications. However, counsellor for the suspect President's Counsel Sarath Jayamana argued that his client had been in remand for nearly a month without any indication of witness tampering or obstruction. He emphasized that the remaining areas of inquiry were of a technical nature in which his client could not intervene. He asserted that no evidence had surfaced implicating his client in any form of conspiracy. After considering the facts presented, Colombo Chief Magistrate Tanuja Lakmali ordered that the suspect be released on a cash bail of 25,000 rupees and 2 sureties of 2 million rupees each. The suspect was also banned from entering any prison premises and was placed under a foreign travel ban with his passport to be surrendered to the court. The case will be taken up again on November 20th.
Arpico Next Gen. Make the leap to faster sleep.
Meanwhile, Sri Lanka's prison facilities are facing severe overcrowding. Commissioner of Prisons in charge of rehabilitation and prison spokesperson Jagat Veerasinghe has said nearly 33,000 inmates are being held at prisons at present, even though the capacity of the 36 institutions under the Department of Prisons is only 12,000. He also noted that 65% of inmates are incarcerated over drug-related offences. He also emphasised the necessity of minimising imprisonments to prevent a major crisis within the prison system. The Supreme Court today ordered the University Grants Commission to take steps to strictly implement the set of guidelines that has been formulated to prevent incidents of ragging at universities. The court issued these orders as part of its ruling on a fundamental rights petition filed by an undergraduate of the University of Sri Jayawardhanapura following an incident of ragging in 2020. A first-year undergraduate who was seriously injured in an incident of ragging at the University of Sri Jayawardhanapura on the 5th of March 2020 filed a fundamental rights petition before the Supreme Court seeking a ruling mandating the issuance of a set of guidelines to prevent incidents of ragging. The University of Sri Jayawardhanapura and its Vice-Chancellor, 16 other state universities, the Inspector General of Police, the Attorney General and several other parties were named respondents. Following a lengthy hearing, Supreme Court Justice Shiran Gunaratne, with the concurrence of Justices Priyantha Fernando and Sobhita Rajakaruna, announced the court's verdict today. The court, which emphasised that the university staff and administration have adopted a policy of silence concerning ragging for a long time, pointed out that they have failed to take the necessary steps to prevent them due to various reasons and influences. The bench ordered that during the course of this trial, a set of guidelines to be implemented to prevent ragging be prepared and presented to the court with the agreement of all universities. As part of the guidelines, committees should be established to prevent incidents of ragging in universities, and through them, complaints from undergraduates who are subjected to ragging should be received and investigated, and witnesses should be protected. A legal service should be established attached to the relevant committees, as well as a medical service for the treatment of students. The court ordered the University Grants Commission to take steps to strictly implement these guidelines and ordered the Minister of Education and Higher Education to provide the necessary financial and technical support and facilities. The bench ordered the acting IGP to obtain necessary advice from the Attorney General regarding incidents of ragging and provide necessary instructions to the police regarding implementing the law in this regard. The court will reconvene on January 14th next year to inquire into the progress of the implementation of these orders. President Anura Dissanayake called on customs officials to deliver efficient and fair customer-centric solutions to the growing concerns surrounding e-commerce. At the meeting with customs officials at the Presidential Secretariat last afternoon, attention was drawn to the technological solutions implemented thus far as part of the department's institutional digitization process, particularly in the context of achieving the government's goal of establishing a digital economy by 2030. The President also instructed officials to expedite the process of amending the existing legislation. A review was conducted on the ongoing automated system for customs data and the existing shortcomings within the system, as well as the National Single Window Service. Key challenges such as the accurate recording of imports and exports, the granting of tax exemptions, and the proper identification of revenue were also highlighted. Tamil Nadu Chief Minister M.K. Stalin inaugurated 729 houses for Sri Lankan Tamils in rehabilitation camps in 5 districts across the state. The houses were built at a cost of 387.6 million Indian rupees. The Chief Minister, in his remarks, reiterated the Tamil Nadu state government's resolve to continue supporting refugee communities through improved housing, access to basic amenities and welfare schemes. He also announced plans to build 7,469 new houses for Sri Lankan Tamils in 26 districts, with 3,510 houses ordered in the first phase and 2,781 already handed over in 32 camps. And with that, here's a look at more local news across the island in brief.
Police investigations revealed that the assassination of underworld figure Ganemulla Sanjeeva inside the Colombo Court complex was orchestrated by Mandinu Padmasiri, alias Kehelbaddara Padme, and Commando Salintha, with Padme directing operations from Dubai and Salintha from Malaysia. Both suspects were arrested in Malaysia today, and an additional associate was apprehended in Bahrain following Interpol red notices. Sri Lanka police had officially requested extradition through Interpol and are now preparing to repatriate the suspects to face trial. Meanwhile, two gunmen on a motorcycle opened fire on a young man running a food stall in Leslie Ranagala Mawatha, Boralla. The shooting was reported around 8:20 last night. Investigations by Boralla Police and the Colombo South Crime Division suggest the attack stemmed from a gang-led feud. In other local news, a police officer was arrested for soliciting a bribe of 200,000 rupees from an individual near the Ragama hospital. The Bribery Commission said the suspect was arrested while accepting the bribe. Two suspects, both police officers, had reportedly been present to accept the bribe. However, one of them had fled during the raid.
Welcome back to First at 9. Central Bank Governor Dr. Nandalal Veerasinghe affirms that Sri Lanka's current monetary policy stands at an optimal equilibrium, with domestic inflation anticipated to align with the central bank's 5% target within the next 4 to 6 quarters. Speaking at the Reuters Next Asia Summit in Singapore, the CBSL governor emphasized vigilance towards global trade risks, particularly ongoing US tariffs on Sri Lankan exports.
Now we are gradually moving into a positive inflation. Now next month or so we are hoping that inflation will cross the positive territory. Our target is 5% medium to long term. I think we are in the path to reach 5% target in next 4 to 6 quarters.
And what are your top risks that you're looking at?
The main thing we are looking at from the forward-looking basis, what would be the inflation expectations going forward next 12 to 8 months. So in our survey we see inflation expectations are very well anchored. Second thing what we are looking at this actual inflation versus what we have projected. For example, our current projection is for us to reach 5% next year, somewhere at the beginning of the second quarter. But if you're going to see next month and next quarter inflation is lower than what our projected path, then obviously we see some space for us to relax. So that's what we are closely monitoring with this one thing. Second thing we are looking at mainly the private sector credit growth. Other important factor we are looking at where government would be able to meet their fiscal consolidation process and move in the right path. But it's uncertain, obviously, is the global tariff policy. If there's something coming now, then we have some space to support the economy from the monetary policy point of view.
Specifically, before the end of this year, is there anything that you can achieve in concrete terms?
We have been able to complete the external debt restructuring process. It was completed last year. So that gives us much more space, especially for the government, much more space for them to meet their service obligations for next 10 years at a level which is much more comfortable and affordable. Going forward, stability is not sufficient. We need to move into a higher growth path after the crisis. That's where now government and central bank is focusing on the necessary reforms, especially by the government, to growth enhancing reforms. There are several that kind of reforms with the IMF program as well as with the World Bank and ADB reform programs. Those are going on. The fiscal part, there's a strong reform program. The fiscal, first one is Public Fiscal Management Act. That's an important legislation. This was passed last year, under which there are clear fiscal rules. Those crucial fiscal rules will ensure fiscal policy and its sustainability will be maintained going forward.
When do you think Sri Lanka will be out of the IMF program?
Our program is a 4-year extended fund facility, which is expected to complete in the middle of the 2027. So what we are planning to do by the time, we will build our buffers, both external monetary fiscal buffers, so that we can stand on our own without having this kind of continuous bailout packages from external parties like even the IMF. So that is the plan.
The Colombo Bourse closed in positive territory today as a result of price gains in counters such as John Keells Holdings, Hatton National Bank and Central Finance Company. The benchmark All Share Price Index increased by 0.72% to settle at 16,161.49. Meanwhile, the more liquid S&P Sri Lanka 20 gained 0.69% to close at 5,356.64. Market turnover crossed 5.9 billion rupees. The diversified financial sector was the top contributor to turnover, followed by the materials sector. Foreign participation in market activity remained at subdued levels, with foreigners closing as net sellers, offloading shares worth 155 million rupees. And up next, we have Reshan Samarakon from Capital Alliance in our next segment, Economic Outlook.
Labour market conditions improved notably in Q1 2025. The unemployment rate declined to 3.8% from 4.5% a year ago, while the labour force participation rate rose to 49.7% from 47.1%. The weekly average weighted prime lending rate eased by 5 basis points to 8.06%, while the average weighted call money rate held steady at 7.74%. Reserve money expanded during the week, reflecting increased commercial bank deposits with the central bank. Consequently, the total money market liquidity recorded a surplus of 96.53 billion by the 4th of July, down from 128.78 billion the previous week. Broad money expanded by 9.9% year-on-year in May 2025. Tourism earnings strengthened to $169.5 million in June. The central bank recorded net foreign exchange purchases of $112.3 million in June.
In international economic developments, US President Donald Trump threatened to impose a 50% tariff on imported copper and soon introduce long-threatened levies on semiconductors and pharmaceuticals. One day after he pressured 14 trading partners, including powerhouse US suppliers like South Korea and Japan, with fresh tariff letters, Trump reiterated his threat of 10% tariffs on products from Brazil, India, and other members of the BRICS group of countries. Yesterday, he said that a minimum of 7 tariff notices would be released this morning and more in the afternoon. He also said trade talks have been going well with the European Union and China, though he added he is only days away from sending a tariff letter to the EU. US copper futures jumped more than 10% after Trump's announcement of new duties, though it was unclear when the new tariffs might take effect. However, US pharmaceutical stocks fell following Trump's threat of 200% tariffs on drug imports, which he said could be delayed by about a year. And that's all for tonight from First at 9. Thank you for joining. Have a great night.